Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Quality Decoded, Breaking Down the CMS Advance Notice. I'm Cassie Yazzo, VP of Product Marketing here at Cotiviti. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get started, I want to quickly run through some housekeeping items for today's webinar. First, you can resize and move all the windows you currently see on your screen, including the slides and presenter video, to find the layout that works best for you. Next, we have multiple ways for you to reach out to us during the webinar. Along the top navigation, you can see our Q&A button, which you can use to submit your questions at any point for our speaker or your Cotiviti account team to answer after today's 30-minute session. You can also use the Contact Us button to send an email to us to request additional follow-up. At the bottom, you'll find additional resources, including links to useful assets related to today's webinar. Click the images on the right to view our reference calendar of the Star Ratings program changes that we'll be reviewing today, or register for our upcoming webinar where we'll review the risk adjustment implications of the advance notice. And please use the Request a Demo button to get a more in-depth demo of any of our solutions at any time. At this time, we do not provide copies of our slides, but a link to the on-demand recording will be sent to all registrants and attendees within a few days. And finally, please take a moment at any point during today's webinar to answer a quick survey. Your feedback is extremely valuable and will help us determine topics for future webinars. Now, let me introduce our speaker. Marge Ciancetta is the product manager of Cotiviti's Star Intelligence solution, which helps plans and providers improve their quality ratings and star scores. She ensures that Star Intelligence represents the voice of Cotiviti's clients and aligns with industry best practices. She also works closely with our development team as well as with customers and stakeholders to ensure that their feedback is incorporated into the product roadmap. With over a decade of experience in the quality space, Marge has a unique perspective on the challenges and opportunities facing health plans and providers today. I'll turn it over to Marge to kick things off.
All right, thank you, Cassie. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining. Let's quickly run through the agenda and then we'll jump in. I'll start off with an overview of what's changing or potentially changing in the Star Ratings program and when those changes will occur. Next, I'll share Cotiviti's take on the changes, how I'm thinking about them, how they're likely to affect your plan, and how to set your plan up for success. Then I'll share a couple of key upcoming dates you'll want to keep track of. And finally, we'll wrap up by walking through a tangible action plan you can take to stay on top of your star ratings in this rapidly changing environment. Okay, let's start off by reviewing codified and proposed changes. I'll cover each star year in succession to give you a sense of the timing of the upcoming changes. Each change will be indicated as confirmed, proposed, or deferred to give you a sense of the likelihood it will be codified. I'll cover both the November 2025 proposed rule and the January 26 advance notice, both listed here. While the comment period has already ended for the November 2025 proposed rule, it still contained a lot of proposals that are likely to be codified in the upcoming final rate announcement. So I want to make sure that you're aware of them. There are two key dates that I want to call out here. First, the advance notice listed on the right still has an open comment period, but it ends tomorrow, February 25th. If you have any feedback on the proposals, make sure you share your feedback with CMS before the deadline. I've included the link here for your reference. Second, the final rate announcement will be published no later than April 6th. This is where any proposals will be codified and you'll have a clear picture of the finalized changes that will affect your plan. Cotiviti will host another webinar in April to cover that information. All right, let's dig in. First up is measurement year 2025, also known as star year 2027. As MY25 is already well underway, all of these changes were previously codified and they should sound pretty familiar to you, so I won't go into much detail. COA pain assessment and the standalone MedRec post-discharge measures were removed. Colorectal cancer screening's age range was expanded to include ages 45 to 49. CMS recently clarified that the updated measure will not be included in the improvement measure calculation this year, so make sure that's removed from your calculations. 3 measures entered the STAR ratings program at a 1x weight, including COA functional status assessment, COB, and poly-ACH. And a new statin intolerance exclusion was added to SPC. CMS expects this to have a minimal impact on the measure, so it will remain in the STAR ratings program without a trip to the display page. Continuing with MY25, there are a few more confirmed changes. Improving or maintaining physical and mental health increased to a weight of 3 after re-entering the STAR ratings program at a weight of 1 last year. MTM is undergoing some significant measure updates, so it was removed from the STAR ratings program. It will spend at least 2 years on the display page before re-entering the program. Diabetes Care Eye Exam no longer includes hybrid reporting. A change to the reporting method is not considered a substantive change, so this measure will continue to be part of the STAR ratings program. These next 2 changes go together. CMS proposes not to implement the EHO for all reward and instead continue the historic reward factor. Typically, CMS proposes and finalizes changes to the STAR ratings program in advance of the measurement year, so the timing of this change was a bit surprising. However, given the strategic direction of the new administration, I think this change was expected by most. Still, it's a late-breaking change that plans need to contend with. CMS recognized that some plans have already spent significant time and effort on maximizing that health equity reward, and so they specifically noted that this was not wasted effort. Any improvement to remove health equity barriers will still contribute to higher measure scores and STAR ratings. So in other words, these investments still benefit the greater good, even if the focus is different. Now let's move to MY26 changes, or STAR year 28. These first 2 confirmed changes go together. The traditional med adherence measures are retired and replaced by the risk-adjusted med adherence measure, which will enter the STAR ratings program at a weight of 1x. CMS has previously proposed to add the opioid prescribing for long duration measure and the substance use disorder IET measure to the STAR ratings program in 2026. However, they did not codify those changes and have not provided any updated direction on them. They may still add them to the STAR ratings program in a future year, but it's not likely those additions will occur in 2026, since the measurement year is already underway. Finally, let's discuss the 2 proposed changes. SPC is removed from the program. NCQA's updates to this measure expanded the eligible population and are considered a substantive change. The respecified measure will likely move back to the program after 2 years on the display page, given the importance of cardiovascular disease management. CMS is also proposing to remove call center TTY measures, citing high average performance and little variation in rates across contracts. I don't think anyone is surprised to see these measures on the chopping block. They've been a real source of pain for CMS in the last several years. There's been several lawsuits around them and just an all-around thorn in CMS's side. I will be celebrating those measures' retirement. Moving right along, let's take a look at measurement year 27 or STAR year 29. So those risk-adjusted measures that entered the program last year will now increase to a weight of 3 each. The breast cancer screening measures eligible population was expanded to include 40 to 49. BCS then completed its 2 years on the display page, and that expanded age is now ready to enter the star ratings program in MY27. Depression screening and follow-up is proposed to be added to the star ratings program at a 1x weight. The likelihood that this proposal will be codified is high, as the measure aligns with the universal foundation CMS has been working towards. Note that this is the first star measure to directly focus on behavioral health, so plans need to ensure they're collecting complete and accurate data in an area that they may not have been focusing on in prior years. There are 3 deferred changes that remain open for MY27. As we discussed earlier, MTM was removed from the star ratings program in prior year as it underwent respecification. It could return to the star ratings program in MY27 after completing 2 years on the display page. However, in January 2025's advance notice, CMS proposed retiring both MTM and SNP-specific measures from the program altogether. They received mixed support on those proposals, and there's been no further updates on them since the April 2025 final rule. So time will tell the fate of these measures. MTM might come back, or it might be retired along with those SNP-specific measures. I'm going to address the remaining MY27 changes as one big group, all of the measures on this slide. November 2025's proposed rule contains sweeping changes to the star ratings program. CMS proposed to retire all of the measures listed here, most of which fit into the operations category. Their stated intention was to simplify and refocus the measure set on clinical care, outcomes, and patient experience of care measures. CMS noted that performance in these measures is topped out and little variance exists across contracts. In other words, these measures are not a source of meaningful differentiation upon which to judge contract performance, so they aren't suited for the star ratings program. This represents a drastic change for plans. As CMS noted, most plans tend to score very highly in these measures. Removing them takes away consistent sources of high performance that bolsters the scores of many plans. If codified as proposed, it will be very important for each plan to model out how these changes will affect their star ratings. Some plans may not be greatly impacted, but for others, this will necessitate a major change in strategy. Finally, let me quickly touch on measurement year 2028 and beyond. First, CMS proposed to remove TRC from the star ratings program while it undergoes substantive changes. However, NCQA did not propose the TRC changes in its advance notice that would have necessitated CMS to remove the measure. We'll need to keep an eye on this one, but it sounds like this removal may be delayed. We'll know for sure when the final rule is published. CMS's other proposal was to remove PCR. NCQA is considering substantive updates to the measure, including re-estimating the risk adjustment models and including denied claims in the denominator and numerator. If NCQA proceeds with these changes, the re-specified measure will return after at least 2 years on the display page. And lastly, we can lump the rest of the deferred changes on this page into the transitions to ECDS bucket. CBP loses hybrid in MY28, and GSD, TRC, and COA will lose hybrid in MY29. NCQA indicated they'll maintain both the traditional and ECDS measures for a period of time, so we can expect the traditional measures to remain in the star ratings program until the ECDS measures are ready to join. So finally, we made it through all the proposed and codified changes for the next several years. It seems like just a few years ago, we would only have a handful of proposals, And now we have so many, you can't even fit 1 year onto a single slide. So with that much going on, it can be really hard to know where to focus. So let me summarize what I think are the proposals with the biggest impacts. Number one, CMS proposes not to implement the Health Equity Index and instead reinstate the reward factor. This signals a change in the strategic focus of the Star Ratings program. Rather than incentivizing improvement among certain populations, like those included in the Health Equity Index, CMS instead wants to incentivize improvement efforts on clinical care, outcomes, and patient experience. Number two, CMS proposes to retire measures with low variation and high average performance, mostly those operations measures. Their intention is to simplify and refocus the measure set on clinical care, outcomes, and patient experience of care. Number three, NCQA's transition to ECDS continues. The remaining measures will be transitioned by 2029, completely eliminating hybrid reporting and transitioning those measures to digital measurement. And finally, number four, CMS proposes to add behavioral health in the form of the depression screening and follow-up measure. This addition further aligns the Star Ratings program to CMS's universal foundation of measurement across its programs. So in November 2025, CMS estimated what their proposals would do to the Star Ratings program. And they estimated those proposals will save $13.18 billion in the next 10 years. The changes may cause 25% of plans to lose half a star, 62% of plans to stay at their current star rating, and 13% of plans to gain half a star. The changes will affect every plan differently. So it's really important for every plan to model the impact on their particular plan. So while the scope of this presentation focuses solely on the changes to the Star Ratings program, there are also a lot of larger changes happening to Medicare Advantage as a whole. We have the Part D redesign, the V28 risk model transition, near flat proposed rate increases, increased utilization and costs, proposed removal of unlinked chart reviews, etc. Together, these changes and proposals create a lot of headwinds for payers, and it's more important than ever to have a clear plan for reaching your star rating goals. Plans must align all of their stakeholders across their organization on the importance and the value of star ratings. CMS certainly isn't shying away from making drastic updates to the program, and successful plans will need to adapt to the changing landscape. Before we move into takeaways, I want to take a moment to review CMS's request for information. Understanding these requests will help us contextualize the updates CMS is making and understand where they're headed. This is the most RFIs that I've seen CMS include in their proposals in a while. They really are interested in getting feedback and sharing their ideas on what could be improved in the program. And if you have good ideas, please do share them with them, because it's our chance to affect how the program changes and evolves. So first, they want to add new measures to the program faster. Currently, measures must spend 2 years on the display page before joining the Star Ratings program, which you heard me say multiple times today. Shortening that time period would allow CMS to be nimbler and to adapt to the reporting needs more quickly. Second, they want to shorten the lag between measurement and payment. The entire Star Ratings program, from cut points to payments, is very retrospective in nature. Plans don't see the fruits of their labor until well after the services have been performed. One such idea for shortening the lag would be decoupling quality bonus payments from MA bids. Interesting ideas there. Third, CMS is open to further simplifying the Star Ratings program to drive improved quality of care and reduce regulatory burden. And fourth, CMS is considering methodological enhancements to make the calculations easier to understand and implement. One example they provided was using percentile distributions instead of the clustering methodology to calculate cut points for non-CAPS measures. So a lot of common words appear in these RFIs: shorten, simplify, reduce, modernize, strengthen, enhance competition. CMS is clearly signaling a desire to streamline the star ratings program, focus the measure set on clinical care outcomes and patient experience of care measures, increase competition and calculation clarity, and reduce administrative burden. So we spent a lot of time down in the details of the program changes. Now I want to zoom out and look at the changes from a 10,000-foot view. From this perspective, we can draw some takeaways and help plans shape their strategies for long-term success. So this chart groups the measures in the star ratings program by category: CAPS, HEDIS, HOS, etc. For each category, I'm showing two things. One, each star year is represented by a different color bar, starting with star year 2025 on the left and 2029 on the right in the teal. Two, those percentages on top of the bars show how much weight each category contributes to the overall star ratings pie in the given star year. So both the number of measures and the weight of those measures affects each category's contribution. So take a look at the operations category. If CMS codifies the removal of the 12 operations measures, then this category will effectively be eliminated in star year 2029. As a result, we would see the category weight of HEDIS, HOS, improvement, and pharmacy measures increase from prior years. If finalized as proposed, removing the typically high-scoring operations measures and increasing the value of the remaining measures sets us up for increased volatility. Plans will need to score well in all of the remaining measures. There's no room to hide mistakes or poor processes. Another more positive way to think about this would be even small changes in performance will have a bigger impact on star ratings. CMS is saying we're streamlining the program and giving plans fewer things to focus on, but it's more important than ever that plans really nail the remaining areas. Plans have to perform well in clinical care, outcomes, and patient experience of care measures. So with that in mind, let's talk through some tangible strategies you can use to succeed in this changing stars landscape. First, continue to elevate the member experience. Under these proposed changes, CAPS and HOS measures would represent 36% of the star ratings pie by 2029. With that much weight, excellent member experience is a key strategy for long-term success of any plan. Plans can achieve or maintain excellent member experience by building on investments that were already made during the EHO for All reward preparation to improve member experience. They can review complaints and grievances on a regular basis and address common problems. Fix access issues and customer service defects. Enhance digital self-service tools and resolve provider communication breakdowns. Next, double down on clinical performance. By 2029, the HEDIS are proposed to comprise 48% of the star ratings pie. Plans can achieve or maintain excellent clinical performance by eliminating both data gaps and care gaps. So they should invest in clinical data sharing, analytics, and provider engagement. Ensure that your plan has member education and care teams in place to effectively manage chronic conditions. Deploy predictive analytics to identify members at risk of non-compliance. And implement targeted outreach for med adherence and chronic condition management. This leads right into my next takeaway. To perform well in these clinical measures, it's essential to prioritize digital data collection for ECDS. The last thing a plan wants to do is to clinically close a gap but not receive credit for it due to a data gap. We already saw the national performance of colorectal cancer screening drop last year when it transitioned to ECDS. Colorectal cancer screening had a relatively low hybrid lift compared to some of the remaining hybrid measures in the star ratings program. If plans aren't prioritizing digital data collection, they're going to risk dramatic performance drops in the next few years when the measures switch to digital reporting. So as a reminder, CBP is slated to transition in MY28, and GST, TRC, and COA are slated to transition in MY29. Additionally, prepare for behavioral health integration. As I mentioned earlier, depression screening and follow-up is the first behavioral health measure in the star ratings program. DSF uses LOINC codes and results to collect depression screenings from PHQ-9s, PROMIS, and other screening tools. So ensure that your plan is collecting data from those behavioral health settings and receiving the LOINC codes with the results on them. Finally, prepare providers for ECDS reporting. Plans need to ensure that they're clearly communicating digital reporting requirements with providers to reduce or eliminate any data gaps. And finally, one last takeaway is to maximize the improvement measures. If CMS's proposals are codified, the improvement measures will comprise 16% of the star ratings pie. That's 16% that you can double dip on simply by hitting those rates to trigger improvement. Not any additional or extra work, you can maximize 16% of your star rating. So when you're setting your measurement targets, we always talk about knowing the 4 key rates that are going to impact your star ratings. You can maintain your current star rating, avoid significant decline, achieve significant improvement, and gain 1 star. It's not always possible to get to the next star, but the next best action is to reach significant improvement. So make sure you know what those key rates are for each measure and choose your measure targets wisely. Plan should be always striving for consistent year-over-year improvement. Okay, so we covered a lot of information in a short time, so let's talk about next steps. First, key dates. CMS will publish the final rate announcement no longer than April 6th. This is where any proposals will be codified and you'll have a clear picture of the finalized changes that will affect your plan. Cotiviti will host another webinar in April to share what's been codified. Next, let's talk about an action plan. With so many changes in play, it can be hard to know where to start. The following action plan can help your plan focus on the most urgent items first, then lay out the roadmap for continued success throughout the year. Okay, so starting with tomorrow, I recommend the following 3 actions. 1, comment to CMS on the advance notice. If you have any burning feedback to share with them and you haven't done so already, submit your comments literally tomorrow. The comment period closes tomorrow. Next, model the impact of your proposed changes on your plan. You can use Cotiviti's scenario modeler or any other modeling tool to understand the impact of program changes on star ratings and revenue. So how does removing HEI, reinstating reward factor, and removing operations measures affect your plan in particular? Finally, inventory stakeholders. Do all of the right people have a seat at the table? STAR success requires enterprise-wide communication, collaboration, and alignment. You won't succeed if everyone isn't working towards the same goals and priorities. If you're not including the right people, that won't happen. In the next 90 days, I recommend you do the following. Develop a multi-year plan to reach or improve star ratings. Plans should consider redesigning their STARS playbooks for years 2027 through 2029. Really break apart your long-term goals into more manageable chunks. The composition of the program is fundamentally changing, and you won't be able to address all of the needed adjustment at once. And finally, gain alignment from your stakeholders. Half the battle is aligning those internal resources on the importance of STARS and prioritizing STARS initiatives. In the next 90 to 365 days, collect member experience data to uncover CAHPS issues. Surveys only go out once a year, but they're based on member experience with the plan all year long. Collect and review that member feedback all throughout the year. Complaints, grievances, mock surveys can all be great sources of data to uncover member experience issues. Prioritize digital data strategy. And then finally, prepare for financial volatility. There's a lot of change underway, and you need to develop the plans today that will set you up for continued success in the future. Remember, STAR ratings reflect excellence in performance across the plan. There's no shortcuts and there's no easy points. Mastering the basics, not chasing stars, is what's going to set you up for continued success. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Cassie to wrap us up.
Thank you, Marge. Such great information. We know that there is a lot of information covered during this webinar today, and we know the key dates and details can often be hard to keep track of. So before we close today, I have a couple of resources to share. I welcome you to download Cotivity's CMS Star Ratings Calendar as a reminder of proposed and confirmed changes to the CMS Star Rating system. We keep this calendar consistently updated throughout the year, so you can bookmark this tool for an up-to-date reminder of proposed and confirmed upcoming changes to the star rating system. You might also recognize the color coding on this calendar. The statuses Marge showed you today match the colors used for the proposed and confirmed changes on the calendar, so you can have the calendar and the recording and they will match up. There's also an ECDS and star ratings ebook down in the bottom part of your screen that you're welcome to click on. It talks about a lot of the concepts that Marge talked about today and was written by one of our excellent star analysts for the Star Intelligence solution. And if you need help building a strategy, Cotivity tracks and applies CMS updates to measures and weights in our Star Intelligence solution, helping our clients get ahead of anticipated changes. To learn more about the Star Intelligence solution, you can contact us at any time at answers@cotivity.com. Next, here's the schedule of other webinars in the Quality Decoded series featuring Marge and our other experts from Cotivity's Quality and Stars team. If you haven't already, you can register for any or all of the rest of the series. We're closely monitoring the ongoing modifications and updates to the rules and guidelines set by CMS and NCQA, and we'll cover those during these webinars. Next, our team is also reviewing the risk adjustment implications of the advance notice, and we will for the final rule as well. You or your colleagues are welcome to sign up and share the link to register for that session. You can use the button on the right side of your screen for that. And that concludes today's webinar. Thanks again to our speaker, Marge Ciancetta. We'll be reaching out to you shortly via email with a link to the on-demand recording of the webinar. And don't forget to take a moment and answer our survey about your experience today. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.